Tom, welcome to the Australian Ballet and welcome to DanceX. It's amazing to have you here. It's amazing to have you in Melbourne, but as well, so great to have you sharing your piece with us and joining us in the building with class. Welcome.
Oh, and it's great to be here. I mean, it was, if I go from the very beginning, kind of getting the phone call that was going to happen was a little bit like, okay, cool. And then just like get excitement all the way up, and then coming into the building, and then the warm welcome from yourself and from the company and the dancers and the staff. Like, I mean, I never felt out of place coming in here.
Well, the sentiment is genuine. It's been a little like summer camp, to be honest. We've all come together, and you and I are the camp counselors. You know?
I know, sometimes I have this moment of, who am I? Am I supposed to be with the directors, or am I with the? And I just float between the two.
You're on the fence.
I'm like
You're
everywhere.
on the fence. You're on both sides. So tell me the genesis of the work. Tell me sort of where it began, how it got its first legs.
So the very beginning of Silence came from two images, and the first one is what we call the cut in traditional dance. So in traditional dance, everyone's doing their stuff, and then there's a moment where it'll be like a dum 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 boom, and then everyone will stop moving at the same time. And when we hit that, that's called hitting the cut. And for me, my own personal dance stuff is I grew up just doing traditional dance. I didn't explore anything else until I was a 116 kilos footballer who auditioned for a dance school at 17 and somehow got in, and then that's my life from then on. So I only did traditional dance, and for me, all my family would always say the cut is the most important part. Everyone has to hit the cut, because when you hit the cut, that's when everyone sees everyone who's dancing, not just the physical bodies, but that's when you see all the spirits and all the other ancestors that come to the space and are performing. Yeah. So that's always sat with me, that these moments of hit and stillness is where you see the whole picture. And then the second image was, I just finished reading a book called Dark Emu from Bruce Pascoe, and not so much the content of the book, but the bringing back into my mind the idea of the dark emu, of the emu in the night sky, and how it's not made up of the stars, it's made up of the space in between. So those two images came to me of exploring what's not, oh hey, I'm all this, what's happening behind, what's happening in the gaps, what's the story that's being told that you're not hearing because it's not the one that's the agenda being pushed. And so then through conversations with my creative team and my artists, that's where the conversation of the treaty came up, and us looking at, in 252 years, we haven't got a treaty. When we premiered it in 2020 at Brisbane Festival was the 250th anniversary of James Cook coming and claiming Australia for the British Crown. So there was a little bit of additional stuff happening, nationwide that was adding to this. And at the same time, Black Lives Matter movements were happening. There's a part in the track which is a field record from the marches in Brisbane. So kind of all of those things of, what's not being said, and what is conversations that are always continuing, that we're always having to have, that isn't exactly being heard. And so in regards to a treaty, every time there's a new government, it's always, hey, First Nations people, what do you want? And we're always like, hey, let's chat about a treaty. And they're like, all right then. And then that's about as far as it goes. Yeah.
And I'm struck how actually in an hour and 5 minutes, the production is so tight. And I think a lot of choreographers sometimes have a hard time editing. So tell me about your creative team and how you got to the point where it's this amazing idea about a treaty and this amazing statement, but how does it, come into a creative team? Lighting, set design, music, and bringing all of that together.
Yeah, all of my previous works that I'd ever made, I had done everything myself. From like my very first work, I made the music, I learned how to make, and so that's like one of my skills is I make music for different things, and I choreograph, I dance in it, I go to Kmart and buy the costumes. And so as we've gotten a bit bigger, I've been able to pull together little teams. I got a little bit of extra money, so I can grab someone to focus on that for me while there's one thing less. So when we got to Silence, for the first time I had a had someone produce my work.
Yeah.
So partnering with Black Dance, you know, Marinda Donnelly it just changed everything about how I make my work. I know I've always pushed and I know I've always had this vision, but now having someone who's like, well, tell me what it is and then we'll see what we can do. And I was like, great, well, I want this. And usually I have that idea, but then I just go, well, you know, I don't have the money for that or I don't have the time. So when she comes back, she rings me up. She's like, hey, I got Karen Norris to be a lighting designer. I was like, I'm sorry, you got Karen Norris. Like Karen's not even, that's not on my list of people because Karen's like all the way up there. And she's like, yeah, Karen wants to do it. And I was like, holy crap. Oh, this is incredible. Hey, we've got Sam Pankhurst want to do the music. And I was like, oh my God, Sam, like what? So this kind of building with a team to help pull together an awesome team.
Yeah.
That's the first step that really helped me. And I still micromanage a lot. I've always done it choreographically. We have this kind of.
Are you a micromanager?
I don't know what we're talking
you
about.
meddling with people's stuff.
Well, we have these numbers in the company where it's Tom makes 90% of the choreography. My wife Tari makes 5% of the choreography, and then the company collectively makes the other 5%.
Okay.
I'm getting better, but I always felt it's because I was just trying to explore and make my own technique. But that also rang in all the other areas, and the team that we pulled together was so incredible that they would listen to what I want and then they would come back to me and I would, you know, I got to make my decisions and no one ever had a problem with that, which has really helped me feel really comfortable about letting them go and do their stuff. Like at the very beginning, I was maybe on a bit more, but then I realized, well, I actually have some incredible people that have been roped in, and that then made me go, well, now I can actually really focus on this area.
Yeah, great.
And also because I still want to be in the spotlight and haven't learned how to step away from the stage yet. So of course now I'm also in the show trying to dance and learn these lines. And I use text a lot because I always love script. I don't really call myself a dancer or a choreographer as much anymore. I love calling myself a storyteller, which is also culturally, like I tell stories. Like I go around my family, I verbally, I dance, I sing the songs, and so I wrap it all in together as one thing. And so as I'm there on stage and I'm writing these scripts, and then I go, okay, I want someone who's a little bit experienced with text, because then that's going to help me. So then we got original cast. We had Benjamin Mazza come in, and he's this actor who refused to call himself a dancer, but is an incredible dancer. He came in and then he just took my scripts and learnt the lines, and I didn't have to worry about going like, hey, we got to do it, and going like, oh, I got to figure this out. It's like, nah, he took and he played, and then Jindu on the drums. This decision, I wanted a drum kit on stage. He was the drummer of a band that I bought the albums of.
Amazing.
Which I didn't also know he was when I hit him up on social media randomly going, hey, I'm looking for a drummer and you've been recommended. And his dad is First Nations music royalty, which I also didn't know that was his father. But he was like, yeah, I'm on board. I want to do this. And
he's such an important anchor.
Such an important,
he's such a vital part of the piece.
He's the heartbeat, and he's the song man that continues throughout the whole show. And I think that the team, like the 7 of us on stage, Black Dancers, producers, Emily Wells was working for them, and she was our kind of point of call, but she was in the room the whole time, and it's incredible. And then having the other creatives, everyone was there for each other.
Yeah.
So then when I had an idea, I felt safe in suggesting something that might be like, what are we doing? Because everyone also, I think, felt safe to go, well, let's give it a go, because we trust that we're going to explore it. And that was it's the first time that had happened in my career where I felt comfortable about going like, I want this, and then people being like, let's check it out. Like having a stage manager and a production manager as well. Like, I remember going, I know we open in 3 weeks' time, and we've been working on it for 2 years, but I just think we need to cover the stage in dirt. And then the production manager, Simon, he just went, okay, what dirt? I was like, oh, something from Bunnings? And he just, 2 days later, he just had buckets of dirt in the room. He's like, let's do it.
That's what happens when you're creative, you're trusting your creative instincts, and you have a team around you that trusts your creative instincts. That's so great. And how have the audiences been for you? I mean, have you felt their level of comfortability or their level of uncomfortability? And how do you feed off of that sort of energy from an audience?
Yeah, it's very interesting. We have to, if an audience is verbally there, laughing, cheering, clapping, that helps.
Yeah.
But we also understand that if they're not, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not liking the work, because what we've realised is we've been to some communities. For example, we performed in Rockhampton, and like pretty much the whole show was quiet. There was barely laughter. There was no clapping. They get to the end, they were on their feet. We did like 3 or 4 like return curtain calls. People were like, "Oh my God!" And what we realised is because we're pulling in large First Nations audiences, there's also a little bit of like, I've never actually even been to see a show before, or I've not been like, we've done a lot of groundwork to make sure that people know that this is something to come to. So this kind of etiquette of in the theatre is new for people as well. Like, do we make sound? Do we not make sound? So it obviously helps us, and we go to another level, but also trying to take ourselves there, because we understand that just because they're quiet doesn't mean that they're not engaging. And I mean, I like using humour in my show. Someone once said many years ago to me that like, if people are laughing, they're listening, and I've just held on to that forever. And I'm like, that's a thing, because if you laughing at it, you got the joke, and so then you're listening, so then you're understanding the story. And so, so when people would, so the very first time we did it, the very first preview, we had a full audience. And we come off stage and no one laughed. No one did anything. I come off stage and I was so disheartened. Touching the microphone. The joke. I was like, I thought I was so funny. I thought I wrote the funniest things. And then I got outside and everyone was there, and they gave us like this massive round of applause on the forecourt of the Brisbane Powerhouse. And I was like, what? People were like, that was hilarious, that was so powerful. And I was like, why wasn't you laughing? And they were like, oh, we got told by the film crew that they're filming the show, so we need to keep everything quiet. And I was like, why didn't someone tell me that? Because here I am the first time, and I'm like, man, no one got the joke, no one got Uncle Bunyip,
everyone
no
gets
one got
the
Bills,
joke.
but yeah, it's
everyone gets a joke.
And they're there.
Yeah.
People are there. I've had community. I've had aunties in tears of pride and happiness and joy. Some coming up to me going like, "That's my story. Like that's my connection." And aunties I've never met before and uncles I've never met before being proud of the story. And like I love that the professional industry is loving the show.
Yeah.
But these aunties and these uncles and these kids that are coming to the show, these First Nation kids who are seeing something like this for the first time, being like excited.
And that's the power right there. It's so powerful. And that's the message really. So thank you so much for coming to DanceX. Thank you for sharing your work. It is so powerful and is sending such a strong message. And thank you to Miranda Donnelly and Black Dance for bringing me to you, and for you coming into the building with your energy and charisma, and also bringing such an important work to DanceX. It's really a vital piece, and I'm so proud to present it.
And thank you for your vision. This is, when you came and then you said all this stuff, and I just said to my partner, I mean, we're so far from ballet, but I was like, I don't know, but this guy, I'm vibing him.
Dude, we still have to take bar together. You took some ballet classes.
Saturday.
All right, we're on.
I was chatting to the ballet mistress Saturday.
Sweet. I'll see you at the bar. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.